How's it going, YouTube? Today I have a video commentary from this past weekend where I took the Blue Eyes Primate list to locals that you see on the screen right now. I'm currently 23-2 from the past couple weeks of just playing this deck since the structure came out, and I feel like I have a pretty good grasp on the deck in the current format. Some cards that you might see and are a little unsure of, or like things that are less common. For starters is the Neo Kaiser Seahorse. This is technically a one-card starter. Thinking this into Spirit lets you send a Maiden from your deck, and then Spirit adds the Field Spell dumps Blue Eyes, and then you can Spirit bring back Blue Eyes, and then Maiden bring back itself to get True Light, so you can kind of do the whole combo just opening one Kaiser Seahorse. This is unfortunately the worst one-card starter of between like Sage and like Maiden, Barrel, Load. So that's why I'm only playing one of it. The reason that it is in the deck list though is because if you open Barrel or Lordly Load and like 4 non-engine, all you can do is make a Seals and pass. And yes, you can get access to Blue Eyes through the Field Spell or through Seals. But if you like Seal Summon Magnemite, all this is really searching you is another Barrel or another Blue Eyes. You have no way to get access to Maiden or the other Blue Eyes engine cards through just the Primate cards alone. So this being a dragon you can summon off of Seals can send Maiden to the grave, which kind of gets you into both engines if you only open one half. That's why I really like this card as a just a cool one of. Other things are, you see in this list I'm playing 2 Roar. Currently, like a lot of people are playing Bestials, and like honestly, a lot of the time this deck can just get soloed by a Magnemite. It's super frustrating when your opponent goes Mag, banish your Blue Eyes, add Druis in the end phase, banish another Blue Eyes, and like you have to play super conservatively with your True Light in order to kind of dodge the Druis from forever. Once you use that first Roar, if you're not summoning a Blue Eyes that's already banished, once they're gone, they're gone. You have no way to get them back unless you play like Disbatter or like a Regained Engine in your deck, which I don't really have space for. So I was trying it out with 2 Roar. I like it. I'm going to show my updated list in a couple minutes, just as I finish explaining this current one that I'm using for the video. But that's the reasoning for the double Roar. I'm only playing 2 Wishes. Honestly, I really don't like this card a ton. You can only really resolve it once or twice in a match. You have, what, 1, 2, 3 targets for spell traps to add, especially if you only play 1 Roar. Like, Maiden gets you True Light almost 100% of the time, so that's like not even like a realistic common option. Normally Wishes is always adding a Roar or Majesty. At most you can resolve 2 in a match, and like you have to discard a card to use it, so it's not a true 1-card combo. It's 1.5, and it's just like prime Ash Bait. I just don't love this card. I think 2 is fine, but if you want to play 3, I mean obviously you're welcome to do that too. I think there's 19 non-engine in this deck. Valor or Ash, Imperm are phenomenal. Imperm is especially good because you can set it off of Tyrant Dragon. And then like Fuwa could be Droll, the Ogres could be like whatever. Metaltronus is also pretty solid in my opinion. And then for the side deck, like I have 6 going first cards just to get rid of the Fuwa. And like my locals doesn't have my locals has more of a rogue scene than I'd argue most. Like everybody's on that Fire King hype train, so I've been noticing that like a lot of the time the Bestials aren't super phenomenal, or even Metaltronus, so I've been like keeping extra side cards that are more generic that I can use to take those out. For the extra deck, I have the Detonator as the Metaltronus target. If you play Ultimate Slayer, it could be Aggregator, it's the same thing. I'm playing Whitebinder as a Cyberse target for that matchup because it's kind of tough, and you'll notice a Fuko in my extra deck. There's been like an upspring of Tenpai players at my locals, so I just thought this was like a funny thing to throw in there since it's relatively easy to make. Anyways, as for changes I made after reviewing all these replays and going over it, this is the current list that I've been playing with on DB. I dropped Roar back down to 1. I'm just going to kind of eat it if I get Bestial, like it's fine. The second Roar, hard drawing that card has been kind of annoying. So if I went over 40, if I went back to 42, I would put the second Roar back in. Or maybe even trade the Prosperity for it. I'm not entirely sure. Now this Prosperity could be another hand trap. It could be a 3rd Wishes if you really want to. I like this as an alternative because you can dig for non-engine. in matchups where you're already able to play. Other than that, the list is relatively the same. I cut one Druid Swarm because I added in Dominus Purge. I've been liking this card a lot recently. Not so much as it's able to like negate a search, like obviously that's a good effect, but it's like not like game winning on its own. The game winning part is it being a trap, hand trap that I'm able to set off of Tyrant Dragon. Now that is like something that comes up pretty frequently. I also moved Metaltronus to the side and removed Whitebinder as a Metaltronus target. I'm just not going to side this in for that matchup. I feel like these 6 cards are already more than enough for Malice. And I like trimmed down a little bit just on the going first cards as well. Prosperity's in the main, so I'm just siding one Duster. Like generically a great card right now with everybody playing Strike. As for the extra deck, I put in the second Tyrant Dragon. I found that it came up pretty frequently, not being able to banish the Roar from my graveyard as something just to do with like the barrel once you have like turn 3. Like if you already summoned Tyrant Dragon off of like the Wishes equip, this barrel, like you don't really have a ton to do with it. Yes, you can make a Spirit, which I think it's crazy if you don't play 3 of this card, by the way. But yeah, the second Tyrant has been coming up pretty frequently for me. I'd argue that it could be SP. That's what it was before. It could also be a second Seal. Like I said, you just want something to be able to do with the barrel once you've gone through your first Seal and your first Tyrant. Like it's just gonna kind of sit there on the field, and you want to be getting the most value out of it that you possibly can. The other thing you'll notice is I cut SP. Like I said, I played like 25-ish games with this deck, and I have not summoned it one time. Like, I really just did not. Yes, it's nice to banish like a True Light in the mirror match or something, but you can win the mirror without resorting to that. There are other ways you can utilize your extra deck, and for something as niche as that, I didn't feel it was worth justifying a slot. Something I noticed was my Metaltronus targets were lacking. I cut the Whitebinder because I decided I was not going to side this in for that matchup, and I replaced it with Desiree. Having a Light Fiend to summon off of Metaltronus, I feel is much more impactful than having it be like a half good card into 2 matchups. I'd rather just be a really good card for 1 matchup and then side other cards for that other Malice matchup. Like I said, 3 Lancea, 3 Chaos Hunter. I'm not super worried about that matchup as it stands. And I also reduced the Bistio account, so my main deck is better prepared for that matchup anyways. But yeah, that's it for the like profile and update, and we'll just hop right into the games now. Alright, we're off to round 1. Starting out kind of tough because I did lose the die roll here. And I'm looking at my opening hand and I only see 1 hand trap. It's a Ghost Ogre. Now this is either going to be really high impact or like do nothing at all. And thankfully my opponent is on Blue Eyes. They start with a Sage for a Maiden. And I'm thinking in my head, like, thank God my 1 hand trap is at least a Ghost Ogre, because I know like Ghost Ogre on the True Light is going to do some serious damage. Anyways, he will search for the Maiden, then link his Sage away for the Spirit with Eyes of Blue. That's going to grab the Field Spell here. I kind of got to let him just play and, you know, do his thing, because like I only have the 1 hand trap. It's just an Ogre. So he'll use Maiden here for True Light. And I know as soon as he uses that True Light, even if he makes a Spirit beforehand to like kind of mitigate the losses like from the graveyard effect triggering, I'm still in a good spot because I stopped the like setting or summoning from True Light, and I got it out of rotation at least for the next like turn, 2 turns. So here he'll activate the Field Spell, use the effect to pump up the Spirit, and dump a Blue Eyes from his deck. Then he'll go True Light effect, and I'll use my Ogre here. Thankfully for me, he did not make a Spirit first to play around Ghost Ogre, which means he's just going to have to set some cards and pass. And I'm off to the races. I'm feeling pretty good now about my hand because it's so much engine. So I'll start with Lordly Lobe. This is going to grab a barrel, which is arguably the best start you can have in Blue Eyes, as long as you're not playing into like Detonator, I suppose. So I'll go add the barrel and then just immediately normal summon it, and it's going to eat an Imperm. He can't let me get to Drill Beam. I do the same thing. Like, you just have to negate the barrel if that's what your opponent starts with. And unfortunately, I hard drew the Field Spell, so I couldn't get the free search off of my Link 1. Normal Sage with the additional normal, and that'll eat another Imperm. After this, I'm going to try and use Roar to summon a Blue Eyes from my deck. And then that's going to eat an Ash. So, I mean, I'm in an okay spot. I'm okay with that being the Ash target. Because now I can just go Field Spell, target my... I target my barrel here. I should have targeted my Sage because it would have been an extra 800 damage. But at the end of the day, it's not really going to matter. So that'll dump a Blue Eyes from my deck. And then I can link away the barrel into a Spirit. And then the Spirit can just grab the Blue Eyes from grave, and that'll let me end on a Blue Eyes Spirit Dragon, the Synchro, and then I'll pass my turn on that. Yep, so I'll make the Spirit here, use the effect to summon out a Blue Eyes from the grave, hit him for 3k. Should have technically been 38 if I used my field spell optimally, but I mean, like I said, it doesn't really matter. So now my opponent doesn't have a hand at this point either, so I know I don't really have to play around any hand traps. I just have to play around a third Imperm or Majesty as the set card, or it could be a bluff spell, I suppose, but if it was like a Wishes or a Roar, he would have used it on his turn. So I'll make the Spirit and then use Lowly Load to summon another Blue Eyes for free, just to get it out of my deck and give my Hard Draw and Majesty a second pop. In the end phase, he's going to use his own Majesty and pop. I think about chaining my Spirit here for a second, but realistically, like, anything I summon can also just get popped and it's going to die anyways in the end phase. And I'd rather him pop my Spirit than pop my Majesty because I want that to stop any follow-up he potentially draws. So I just let him pop my Spirit and then, like, continue to pass my turn. He ends up drawing in a Maiden, which is like a really crazy top deck. If I didn't have the exact answer for it, which thankfully I did have the Majesty. So he kind of thinks here for a minute on what he wants to do. Yep, he ends up normal summoning it, and I just pop it right away on summon. It's a non-target pop, so I don't have to worry about the Maiden floating into anything, or him sending it to get True Light, doing any kind of shenanigans. I just pop both, and then that's a wrap for game 1. Alright, game 2, my opponent goes first again, and in classic Blue Eyes fashion, he bricked. So he's just going to set a pair of cards and pass. I start off, I'm pretty excited to be going first with an extra card. I'll start off with a Maiden, and that ends up eating a crazy called by. This is like a really tough one for me, but I'm not out yet. I have to just let it go through, and I'll just go right on to my next play. I'm going to use Wishes and pitch a Druid's Worm from my hand. I'm pretty sure I had 2 Druid's Worm in my hand at this point, and then just a couple other hand traps, so I wanted to keep my hand as diverse as I could in case this gets ashed, which it does. So now I'm starting to sweat a little because I know he can kind of top deck his way into some plays at least. I set 1 and pass after that. He'll draw for his next turn and end up summoning a Effect Veiler here. Obviously he's going to go for a Link 1 play to try and search out the field spell, and then get some Blue Eyes out of his deck, and he can put me on the clock with 3k whacking me every turn. So I know I have to Metaltronus this Spirit. If I don't, like I just said, he's going to be putting me on the clock, but now because I had the Metaltronus, I'm going to be able to summon a Blue Eyes from my deck and put him on the clock. This Spirit's negated forever, so it's just going to sit there. It's got 300 attack, and like that's it. So it's literally like a useless card. So I'll grab the Blue Eyes out of my deck in a second. And then he can't really do anything more than that. I don't know if he top decked the Veiler or if he had it and just didn't want to commit to that kind of play on turn 0. But that's all he had in him for this turn. So he passes back to me and I draw into another hand trap. I start off with Wishes to equip to my Blue Eyes. I just want to get a Trap Immune Tyrant on the field as soon as possible. I can't really do a ton having drawn another hand trap, so I just attack the Spirit for, I think it's like 3100, and then I pass back to him. He rips a Sage off the top, which is a crazy top deck, but I have a Veiler primed and ready for him. Yeah, this is just going to eat the Veiler with the Swiftness, and then he will link that off into another Spirit with Eyes of Blue. This time, I have to let it resolve. I'm not going to burn another Veiler to stop him from getting the field spell. Realistically, if he goes Field Spell to dump a Blue Eyes, I have a Druid Swarm on my hand, so I could banish the Blue Eyes, but nothing is threatening my Tyrant Dragon yet. I'm pretty confident that he top decked the Sage, so I'm not really worried about him having more gas in his hand on top of this play. So I just kind of let it all go through. I let him use his Field Spell. He can double Blue Eyes, that's fine. I'm not even going to Druid Swarm it because, like I said, he has no way to threaten my Tyrant Dragon at the moment. So I'm going to save it for something more impactful, like a Maiden, if he ends up finding his way there. He kind of goes through his extra deck here, just thinking about what plays he has. But like I said, he really, all he can do is go Spirit to summon a Blue Eyes back. And that doesn't check my Tyrant, so I'm not worried about it. Yep, Spirit to summon out the Blue Eyes, just like I said. And he kind of just has to pass on that. He doesn't have another normal summon in his hand, and he's just got a Blue Eyes and a Dream. He passes back to me, and I rip a barrel off the top. It's effect resolved, so at this point, like, unless that's a set Majesty, honestly, even if it is a set Majesty, I'm still in such a good position that I'm not worried about it. The barrel gets the load gets Drill Beam, and now I'm just so far ahead that, like, I feel like nothing really matters. I'm pretty sure I just end up going Battle Phase here and hitting him for some damage. Yeah, I'm just trying to clear that and not play into hand traps that I don't have to. So I clear his Blue Eyes. I don't have a trap to set off my Tyrant, but it's fine. I'm just going to hit him for another 19 off of the barrel attack, and then I'll use my Lordly Load to get the other Blue Eyes out of my deck. And then I'm pretty sure I just said Drill Beam and pass. I don't even make his seals here because I don't have to. I got a bunch of big guys on my field, and I have an Omni Negate plus 2 more hand traps in my hand. So he draws for his turn. I have an Omni for whatever his top deck is. And then he ends up actually ripping a Wishes off the top, which I have an Omni for it, but I also have an Ash in my hand, so I'm just going to hold the Omni just in case there's potentially something better. I'll Ash this, and that'll be a wrap. He passes, and I just attack for a game of Tyrant. Alright, we're in round 2, and I lost yet another die roll. I'm going to be going second. My opponent is on Ryzeal, and they're going to start off by summoning a sword, searching an EXT. He's going to summon EXT, pitching a duo from his extra deck, and then this EXT is going to be able to grab a node from the main deck. And then now here on Res, I'm going to use a Fua Loss to try and get some extra draws. So yeah, I'll Fua there. And then he lets it resolve. Great. Good for me. I was kind of assuming he was going to make Detonator and pass, but he ends up going for Duo Drive here. So I'll take my one draw. I drew into a Ghost Ogre, which is phenomenal because he made a Duo Drive, so I'm so happy about that. He'll go Effect, I'll chain Ghost Ogre, and he's got a Crossout in his hand, with Ghost Ogre as a target for it in his deck. So I'm not too thrilled about that. Kind of unfortunate to have to let this resolve, but I mean, what am I going to do? My only hand trap, I think, was Fua, and I had 4 engine cards, so there's literally nothing I can do about this. This is going to search for Plugin and Plasma Hole, which means he already has the cross in his hand. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that it was Plugin he searched. So I'm not sure why he didn't activate cross first. I guess he was kind of baiting me into using a hand trap because he had the cross out, which, you know, smart on his part. But it's kind of tough that I didn't have the second one for the punish. He's going to Desires after this, banishing 10 of probably the worst cards in his deck because, as you'll see throughout this game, he has everything he needs still. He'll go across to get another draw, so he's already drawn 3. And honestly, I'm pretty sure he doesn't even make the Detonator because he already normal summoned and he has no target for node. So he ends up just setting 3? I think it's 3. And then passes back to me, which is fine. I can deal with, like, you know, like cross plus the Hole Thrust or whatever the trap is called now. I opt to start by Drill Beam, banishing the Duo Drive. I realize now in hindsight, this was not the best play because he can go plug in, bring back the Duo Drive, and then everything I just did had no impact. But he doesn't do that. I get to resolve my Lordly Load, add a barrel to my hand, and then I just normal the barrel and go effect to set, just to try and get some follow-up on my field. So that'll set another Lordly Load for my deck because I already have the Drill Beam. And then I'll just immediately go Drill Beam effect to set itself. After this, I'm going to just link off my barrel for a Spirit, I believe. Oh no, okay, so I used Roar here. I should have linked the barrel off for Spirit, but I didn't. I used Roar, summon out a Blue Eyes from my deck, because that'll let me special summon the Kaiser out of my hand. Now, doing things this way plays pretty hard into Nib, which is not ideal, but I was kind of putting him on better habit anyways. I was trying to play more around, actually, I don't remember. I think, yeah, I don't remember what I was trying to do here. I linked the Kaiser into Spirit. Oh, that's what it is. Because I want to put the Kaiser in the graveyard in order to get the Maiden out of my deck. So now he imperms my Spirit, which is fine. I kind of wanted the field spell, but I don't really care a ton. I can always pivot into Seal's Pass and get the other Blue Eyes out of my deck that way, keeping the Drill Beam live. But now I have a Maiden in rotation, so I'm like in an okay spot. I just pick up and read my Spirit here. I'm kind of thinking if it's worth linking into another one, but I decide against it. I'm actually going to link both of those monsters into a Seal. This way, if he does have a Nib, there's at least like some follow-up I get out of my deck. So next, I'm pretty sure I use Load to summon out a Blue Eyes, if I remember correctly. Yep, I used Load to grab the other Blue Eyes out of my deck, which I shouldn't have done. This summons Maiden, but I can't even use the Maiden effect to get True Light. I should have linked my barrel into another Spirit, and then use that Spirit to reborn Blue Eyes, and then get Maiden that way. Then at least at the very end, if I wanted to, I can go Load, summon the Blue Eyes back from grave, or from deck, and turn my Drill Beam on. But now my Drill Beam's not even live. I get nibbed for my life savings, and I end up just passing on a token. The Seals at least triggers, I guess, which is something, but I can't get mag from my deck and search for Druisworm because I'm locked due to the Lordly Load, so I end up just getting a Druisworm here. This was like a pretty significant misplay and like leaves me in a really tough spot for the rest of this match. Had I just linked the barrel into another Spirit, that would have been significantly better, because like I said, I'd have my Omni Negate live and I'd be kind of chilling. So I have to just pass on that. My opponent draws and starts by normal summoning Ice. This forces out the Veiler out of my hand. I wanted to try and keep it because it would be follow-up just normal summoning it, making a Spirit, and getting the whole shebang going. But like I said, I'm kind of forced to use it here. Letting the Ice resolve would be too powerful. And he has another crossout. And I don't have my Drill Beam to negate the crossout because I did not end with a Vanilla on my field or a Primite in my hand. That's why I was saying earlier, it was such a big misplay not going for the second Spirit and holding onto my Lordly Load to play around Nib better. So yeah, he's going to be able to resolve Ice. Ice grabs Sword, Sword grabs EXT. Then he can just make a detonator and start playing through all my back row. He gets to attach one for free from his grave. And I'm kind of like clocked out of this game at this point. I know it's going to be so hard to climb my way back into this, and there's basically a 0 chance of it happening. He can go EXT send Twins, which he probably should have done first if that was going to be the play that he goes for. That way his detonator can attach it. But it's fine. Like, he's in such a far ahead spot that it really doesn't matter. He can overlay those two for a Dweller and cut me off from the barrel. He kind of thinks about Tornado Dragon here, but he has the detonator to deal with all my back row, so the Dweller just makes more sense. Yep, so he'll just go Battle Phase, Dweller, and then beat over my guys. The Nib clears the token because it's only 2,500 defense, or I think it's actually less than that. Detonator clears my Druisworm, which he could have cleared with the Dweller because it was 0-0, but I mean, he's not killing me this turn, and like next turn I'm like definitely dead if I don't do something, so it doesn't really matter a whole lot here. He'll I think he sets one. Yeah, no, he just passes and he Dwellers in my draw phase, and like this is pretty much a wrap from here. I try and see what I can force out. I start by flipping a Lordly Load. He chains his Plasma Hole, Hold Thrust, whatever it's called, and pops it. And I know that there's like nothing I can do. I don't have talents. Even if I did, I don't think the talents would force out enough. Like, I guess talents steal Detonator, like make a Typhon or a Zeus on top of it would be pretty good. But I don't have that option. I don't remember exactly what I drew. I think it might have been Valor. Yeah, so it was a Valor. I just normal summon it. I'm going to make a Typhon and hope he just forgets to use Cross and like somehow keep myself in the game. So I just make a Typhon here and then I use the effect just hoping for the best. And he does end up forgetting that he has a Cross Negate live. But like I said before, it really doesn't matter. He has follow-up in his hand and I have literally nothing. I have a Drill Beam that I can't even use. I can't go Lordly Load summon a Blue Eyes because I'm locked from the Typhon. And if I had tried to use the Lordly Load to summon a Blue Eyes, I would have just lost it for free. He would have won Detonator, Chain, Pop, and then I'd be in a somehow worse position than I am now. So I have to just pass on that. He draws for turn, and he starts by normal summoning Ice. Oh no, he goes Old Slayer, put back my Typhon, which is fine, it's whatever. You just send like an Aggregator, negate anything, it's like so irrelevant. Yeah, he just negates my Lordly Load. Oh no, I lose the attack buff on my Vanillas. He will get the free draw off of Cross, putting back 2 EXTs, and then he just yeah, uses, oh, that's what it was. He goes plug-in for Sword, and then Sword gets a Surge, and then I know that I'm basically dead from there. Like, I'm too far behind now to be able to like make some sort of a comeback. So I just scoop it up and we go on to game 2. Alright, on to game number 2, and I finally get to go first in one of these matches. I'm looking at my opening hand, it's pretty alright. I start off by normal summoning Kaiser and link that into Spirit. I only get to use the Kaiser effect because it did hard draw the field spell again. It's fine though. My hand is very playable through a couple of hand traps. I'll go Kaiser, dump a Maiden, activate my field spell effect to pump up my Spirit and double Blue Eyes, and then I'll go Spirit effect, summon back to Blue Eyes. That'll let me summon Maiden, and then I can use Maiden's effect on field to send it and get access to True Light. Now I can go True Light to set, and that resolves. Thank God, no Ogre. This is going to set a Wishes, I believe, from my deck. Yep, and then I'll go Wishes and pitch it Imperm from my hand. This will let me grab a copy of Sage and Majesty from my deck. I'm able to normal summon the Sage here in a second. And now, I'm kind of deciding if I want to grab a Valor or if I want a Maiden for follow-up. Normally, I think it's more correct to grab a Valor here and just like make sure your opponent can't play the game. But I have a Skilled Rain in my hand, so odds are that this Valor is not going to be able to actually be used. I'm kind of just assuming that the Skilled Rain is going to stick. Ryzeal doesn't really, like, the only board clear he has is like, I guess if he Duster or Lightning Storms me, I'm in a really bad spot, so I should have actually searched the Valor here. But I was more worried about being able to play on turn 3. Knowing that Ryzeal isn't a deck that can kill me straight up, I wasn't too worried about living to see turn 3. That's why I opted to grab the Maiden here. I end up making a Spirit, which, like, I should have probably made a Seal, but I should have made a Seal to grab access to Barrel because I didn't have that in rotation. But the Spirit was also fine since I can activate both effects under Skilled Rain. If I chain the second effect, the first one will resolve. Anyways, I end up setting Skilled Rain and one other card in passing. And then my opponent starts off with a Prosperity for 6. I know immediately I have to Ash this. I can't let him dig for a Lightning Storm or a Duster. It's just going to be too hard to play through, like him nuking my entire board. So I end up burning my Ash on the Prosperity. He goes Bonfire. Obviously I can't Ash that because I just used it on the Prosp, so I let it resolve. He grabs an EXT out of his deck. And then he'll go EXT, summon here, and dump an Aggregator. This is going to essentially force my True Light, because he'll chain block his EXT. The Aggregator will negate True Light, and I'll go effect to summon. I want to get some value out of it. Should I have done this? I think it probably makes sense to still do it, even knowing that I can no longer play around like Metaltronus or Ultimate Slayer on my Spirit Dragon, because I no longer have a way to like chain something and then chain the spirit afterwards to dodge. So I end up chaining the True Light to summon the Blue Eyes, and then I chain the Skill Drain, I get the EXT, and then I eat the Ultimate Slayer big time here. He sends him along, which is really annoying because it outs my Skill Drain, and I'm thinking in my head like, damn, I really should have grabbed that Veiler. Like, that was a huge fumble. But I mean, hindsight is 2020. What can you do? Now I just know in the future that I'm just gonna go for the Veiler regardless, even if I have the Skill Drain, because of cards like Ultimate Slayer or Duster, Lightning Storm, whatever, that if I just get blown out by one of those cards, I need something to like keep me in the game. And worst case, if I don't use the Veiler, I can still link it into a Spirit on the follow-up turn, and then that effect tributes for cost to summon a Blue Eyes back, which triggers the Maiden. So I can still do all of that follow-up through a Skill Drain if the Veiler manages to stick for that long. Anyways, he'll use them on long, bounce back the Skill Drain, and thank God his only other Ryzeal name was a Node. If it was like a sword or something, I would have been in such a tough spot. Like, it would have been the craziest punish, for sure. But thankfully, because it was Node, on summon, I immediately am just like, well, I'm just going to pop that with the Majesty and put you on Better Have It. I'm pretty confident he doesn't have Ice, because he definitely would have summoned Ice next and held the Node. And he doesn't have Sword, because he also would have summoned that before summoning Node. So I'm like, yeah, you definitely have no more gas in your hand. If you have a Chummy that you top deck that you can normal summon, that's tough for me, but it is what it is. So I just go Majesty, pop the Node, and then he sets one? No, he activates Cross, and then sets one and passes it back to me. He's got no more gas. I draw for turn, and I'm feeling like I'm in a crazy spot right now. I drew into a lowly load, which, you know, never punished for not making the seals, I guess. That's going to get Barrel. Barrel can grab a Drill Beam, and from here, like, the game is pretty much over. He just scoops it up. He could imprint the Barrel, but it's not going to do enough. I'm putting him on no cards. I'm going to have at least a Spirit for whatever Omni Negate he top decks on the next turn, and, like, that's a wrap. Alright, on to game number 3, and I'm going second again. My opponent's going to lead off in his main phase by activating Gravekeeper's Inscription, using the effect to prevent us both from summoning from a graveyard for 2 turns. Kind of annoying, but I can deal with it. Thankfully, he ends up just setting one more and passing. He bricked. We're in this game. I'm going to lead off once again by normal summoning Kaiser. I only play one of these in my deck, so it's kind of crazy I opened the one of twice, but I mean, hey, full combo is full combo. What can you do? I'm just kind of mapping this out in my head, and there we go. There's the Kaiser. I'm just going to link it away right away for a Spirit. We'll go chain 1 to add the field spell, chain 2 Kaiser to dump. We're going to end up sending a Maiden to my graveyard. I'm just kind of double checking that it's any monster that mentions Blue Eyes and not a monster like that says Blue Eyes in the name. And that I didn't like somehow cheat in game 1. But so we'll dump the Maiden, add the field spell effect to bump up the Spirit, dumping a Blue Eyes from my deck, and then I can go Spirit effect. That'll let me summon out the Blue Eyes I just dumped. Or, oh, sorry, I used the Spirit and then immediately realized that that is like the only thing I cannot do. The only thing he did on his turn was say neither of us can summon from our graveyard. So I immediately put that back, and then I use Wishes, pitching the Fuwa that I never ended up using because he bricked. This is going to end up grabbing Sage and Roar from the deck, I believe here. Yep, Sage and Roar. And then the Wishes will go to grave. I will just use my extra normal right away on the Sage. And then that's going to add a Veiler, not making the same mistake again. I'm just adding as much effect negation as possible for whatever he could potentially top deck to make sure that he doesn't have a way to play. Then I'll use Roar, summon out a Blue Eyes from my deck. And then I just synchro with those two into a Spirit. I wanted to try and play around Ghost Ogre on the True Light. And I also wanted a way to start pushing for damage. If I made a Seal, like, yes, it played better into Nib, but then my True Light getting Ghost Ogre would have been, like, so much worse. And, like, to be honest, I don't care a ton about the Nib. I don't know, it's like hit or miss. You could make this Spirit like I did, it just depends really on what you're trying to play around. I go Maiden Effect here for True Light, and it's just going to end up setting a... it'll activate the True Light, and then I'll go True Light to set. I'll just grab the Majesty, and then I'm pretty sure I just pass on that, and I keep the Vanilla token on my field. Had I gone for a Seals instead of a Spirit, yes, I would have got cooked a lot harder by Ghost Ogre, but the Nib would have done effectively nothing, and it would have allowed me to get an Ether Barrel into rotation on the follow-up turn, which means that in the overall grind game, I would have been in a crazy, crazy spot. He ends up just going Battle, top deck, no engine, so he hits over my token with Nib, and he kind of like fumbles the card and shows me what he sets, so he just shuffles them up and resets them. In the end phase, I go True Light Effect to summon, just to get out Blue Eyes and Maiden again and start off my turn. And then I will use the Majesty and pop both of his back row. So, didn't really matter that I saw what it was. I don't care about this Nib, I know I can deal with it pretty easily. I just want to clear any potential, like, interrupt threats on his end. So yeah, I'll draw for turn. I'm just immediately going to start off with getting a Tyrant on the field. I'll equip my Blue Eyes with the Neo from my extra deck, and then Contact Fuse into Tyrant. Then I can use Link Maiden into Spirit. This is summon number 2. Spirit effect is going to get Blue Eyes. That'll be summon 3. And then Maiden will come back as summon 4. Now I can go Battle Phase. We're trying our best to play around like another potential Nib here. I'll go attack over the Nib with Tyrant. Tyrant's going to set back to Majesty, so I have another pop 2. I'll hit him for 3k with the Blue Eyes. Then use True Light. That's going to summon another Blue Eyes. Now we're on 5 summons, but because I get turn player priority in main phase 2, I'm just going to immediately first action make a Seals. And then now if he nibs me, at least now I can float into Barrel, and I have True Light with Majesty again and a Veiler in my hand. So he has to like top deck like a crazy engine card and have a crossout for the Veiler and be able to play through a pop 2. I think about making a Spirit here, but the Tyrant's kind of pretty powerful on its own, just continuously looping the Majesty, and I'm only playing 1 Tyrant in this build, so I don't really want to waste it if I don't have to. He ends up scooping it up there. There's nothing he can do. I had like 4 hit traps in my hand or something, so there was no way he was playing, even if he top decked engine. Alright, on to round number 3. I lost another die roll. My opponent is on Tenpai Fiendsmith though, so he makes me go first. I'm looking at my opening hand, and it's like really not good. My like best play really is to roar for a Blue Eyes, like normal summon a Veiler and use that to make a Seals. Like I can Veiler into Spirit, and then I don't know if I have the field spell in my hand or not, but I go roar, he chains Fua, I'm like that's fine, and he chains another Fua, I'm like oh jeez. I'm literally ending on a vanilla defense mode, like that's my turn. I summon my Blue Eyes, he draws 2, 1 for each Fua, and then I just set 2 and pass. I'm not going to give him a +2 to make a Seals. That's definitely not worth it at all. Especially knowing he made me go first, which means he's on Tenpai. He's going to start off his turn with a Tract. That's going to grab a Luri from his deck. And I'm kind of keep looking through my extra deck because I'm realizing now that I did not deck build properly enough. I don't have a Light Fiend as a Metatronus target, which means that this Metatronus is just sitting in my back row and not accomplishing anything. He's going to link the Luri into Requiem, and then he goes Requiem effect, and I just have to, I'm pretty sure I just have to let it resolve. I don't really have anything I can do. I can't Metatronus it. He has priority to activate it on summon. I'm kind of deciding if I want to negate the Lacrima here, and I do end up using a Veiler. I just want to keep the Engraver out of rotation so we can't make a Desiree or something. Like I said, I don't have a Light Fiend Metatronus target, so I just want to prevent him from getting as much advantage as I can. I also know that I want to try and keep some negation for the Tenpai cards he potentially has in his hand. As you'll see here, he's about to normal summon a Pydra, and this forces me to use my Imperm. If I don't, I'm like for sure 100% dead. I don't have a Metatronus target for fire either. No fire dragons, and none of the dragons that he summons other than, I guess, Transcendent, or even targetable by that. So he's going to just go to his battle phase. I'm pretty sure that's just the next thing he does. He goes Jurisworm to banish my Veiler, and then he synchros with the Lacrima and the Jurisworm to effectively clear my whole board. Yeah, Yeah, he'll synchro those two for a Chaos Angel. I go chain 1 Chaos Angel, target my back row, chain 2 Druid Swarm to send the Blue Eyes. I'm just going to chain my Metaltronus here. Chaos Angel is like a monster I actually do have a target for, and I know I can at least chump block a little bit of damage, so I'm just kind of, you know, hoping he doesn't have a Kaiba in his hand, because then I'm just dead and there's nothing I can do. He's just confirming here that Metaltronus does negate both monsters forever, which is fine. I mean, I didn't really care a ton about the Chaos Angel to begin with. I just wanted to be able to use the Metaltronus so that I got a body out of it. Yeah, he just goes battle phase, hits with the Chaos Angel, hits with the Hydra, activates Sangan Kaiman, and that's a wrap. That's it for game 1. Quick and easy. Alright, game number 2, and I'm going to choose to go first this time. It'll be my choice instead of my opponent making me. And my hand is literally unplayable. I have to pass. Like, I don't have a single card I can activate or do anything. I end up just setting 1, which is a called by, I think, and passing. He leads his turn, starting with Tract again. Tract is going to grab the Luri. Luri is going to pitch and summon. I think about using Called By on the Luri here, but I have a Druid Swarm in my hand, and I want to keep some lights in the grave if so that it's possible for me to summon it if we get into a kind of a grind game. So I will just use the Called By on the Requiem here, and then that's his only play. Thank God, he just passes. I draw, it's another hand trap. There's nothing I can do. All I'm thinking in my head is, thank God I did not Called By the Luri, because now I can at least Druid Swarm banish and hit for 25 and put him on like a 3 to 4 turn clock. I set the Imperm, I drew for turn, and I pass. He draws, it's a brick. It's a Fadra or something, I think, and he passes. I draw, I'm pretty sure I drew another unplayable card. It's like a second Ghost Ogre or Ash or something. So I just hit, it's Fadra. I'm like, that sucks, go ahead. He draws Genroku. Thank God I have an Ash in my hand, otherwise I'd be dead on the spot. He goes normal summon Genroku. Put the fodder to attack, go battle phase, and then he uses Genroku effect. Thank God I have the Ash. I know he doesn't have Kaiman because he would have used it last turn. And same with the Genroku, I knew that was the top deck. He thinks about passing here. I'm kind of trying to goad him into it just because I want another turn. But he attacks with Fadra to try and summon back the Genroku. So I imprint it on attack declaration. This means it dies to my Druid Swarm. And now he's on a 2-turn clock. That extra, like, 1200 damage or whatever it ended up being is going to matter a lot here. So I'm looking at my hand. I still don't have any plays. I'm thinking about normal summoning the Veiler, but it's really, like, whatever. So I'll just attack with the Druid Swarm. Set 1 and pass. Actually, it wasn't a Veiler. It was, I think it was just another Imperm, or it was a Strike that I drew. He sets another monster. I draw a Maiden. I go Maiden effect. Hopefully this is just going to resolve and like get me in the game. Let me like really apply some like actual pressure. So then I'll grab True Light, and then I'll go True Light effect to set. I'm feeling pretty confident here that like I'll be okay, even if he has Ghost Ogre because I have Strike. So I negate the Ghost Ogre with my Strike. This will let me set a Wishes from my deck. Hindsight is crazy. I go Wishes Pitch and it eats an Ash. It had to be something he was breaking on in his hand. Clearly, like, I probably should have set maybe even a Majesty. I don't know. I just go summon my other Druid Swarm from my hand, banishing the Ghost Ogre he used earlier. And he's got nothing. Like, one Druid is going to hit over the Ash, and then the other one's going to attack for game. I could have also just went True Light Summon from hand, and that would have accomplished the same thing. But I knew I could get a little bit greedier because I had the extra Druid in my hand. Alright, on to game number 3, and he's choosing to go first this time. It's kind of a cool strategy, like mainboarding your deck for going second, and then like having a bunch of side cards for when you choose to go first. That way you kind of always win the die roll. It's pretty creative, I like that. But he's looking at his hand, and it's literally unplayable. He sets another monster and passes. I'm assuming that this is another Fadra here when I look at my opening hand. And I'm like, that's fine. I don't care about a guy that can't die my battle. I'm just going to get right to it. I'll go normal summon Barrel. Barrel's going to get a Lordly Load. Thank God it resolved. I'm like so ecstatic because once you get the Lordly Load into rotation, like the game is just crazy in your favor. I'll go Lordly Load. That'll add a Drill Beam. I'm on the negate. This Drill is like fine. I can't link and search my field spell, but I mean, realistically, that doesn't matter. I can still make a seals if I really want to with my lordly load. But I'm going to check what that face down monster is first. I'm pretty sure I just go battle phase here. And then I hit into his monster. It's a Fadra, just like I thought. That's fine. At the end of my battle phase, I'm going to activate my drill beam and just banish it because it's kind of free for me to do so. Like, alternatively, I was just going to set the drill beam and pass. But now I can go first action in main phase 2, set the drill beam because I control a barrel. And I have this other lordly load to keep revealing from my hand, so I don't have to make sure I'm keeping a vanilla on field. I'll go activate the second effect of the lordly load here and summon out a blue eyes from my deck. And then I'm just going to link both into a seals. There's no reason to make a spirit because we're under duel. Can't switch the field spell. Not really like a point to wasting it. Make the spirit or the seals, and then I set 3, and with 2 cards still in my hand, I pass. In my end phase, he goes mag, banish my blue eyes, which is kind of annoying. One of the sets was True Light, so I was kind of hoping to use that to summon it out on his turn. That way, like, I mean, the drill beam's already live because I have a lordly load in my hand, but, I mean, I'd rather just not have my blue eyes banished. In the end phase, he adds Lubellion here. So this was telling me 2 things. One, he already has Tenpai Engine, like a Chandra or a Genroku in his hand, and he didn't use it turn 1 because he was afraid of just losing to an Ash. Or the second thing is that he only has Genroku in hand and only plays 1, or he's got like multiple and all his Genrokus are in his hand, so he couldn't search it to start playing in my end phase. He's just gonna draw for turn and start off with Lubellion. Lubellion's gonna search Druid Worm. He'll summon the Lubellion. He's really trying to force me to use my drill beam here, but like in my head, I'm thinking I'm just never using this card until it's either like the battle phase has ended, or I'm getting like dustered. Like there's no reason for me to ever do it. Like he can have this regain, loop of Magnuma, like it's fine. I'm playing, I think, double roar in this build, so I'm not super stressed about losing or getting my blue eyes banished. I have so many ways to get it back. And I have this True Light set, so I know that I can just use it to dodge Bestials in the future if I really want to. He goes Druid Swarm, banish the mag to summon, and tries to get a draw off the regain. I figure he can just go battle and force my seal if he really wants to here, so I'm just going to use it now and deny him the draw and keep this Magnuma out of the game for the rest of the duel. The seal is going to trigger on a new chain here. I'm just going to summon a mag from my deck. It'll search me into engine. Right now I don't have a way to bring back this barrel because I don't have a vanilla. So this mag could just add another barrel to my hand. It could add the Kaiser. There's a lot of things it can do. He activates saying I'm summoning here. And I'm looking at my hand. I'm like, alright, this is the time to use the drill beam. I can't let him summon a guy, normal summon a Hydra or a Chandra, and have it be protected. So I just get rid of the saying and summoning immediately. I'm pretty sure I have Strike face down. So I'm just trying to keep him off of ways to protect his Tenpai monsters. He links both of his Bestials off for a Moon. This will trigger the Druid Swarm to send my Magnuma to the grave. And I'm kind of thinking, like, there's nothing I really want to do about this Moon. That's fine. I'll let him make the Requiem here. He can burn through it. That's okay. And then I realistically should have negated the summon of this Requiem. But if he had like an Engraver or something, I didn't want him to be able to make a second one. Yes, if he finds his way to Lacrima, this will bite me in the ass because he can Lacrima summon it back because it was properly summoned. But I'm hoping that it's just not going to get that far. I negate the effect with Strike, and I'm putting him on like better have Kaiman, I guess. He has a normal summon for Genroku, which is fine. I'm like good for it. I have an Imperm set, I believe. He goes battle phase, Genroku effect. Sure, that resolves. This is going to summon out a Hydra from the deck, I believe. It could have got Chandra here. That also would have been pretty good. I would have had to worry a little bit more, I think, if it was Chandra. Because I can Imperm negate both either way. But if it was Chandra, then I have to find a way to deal with it and negate it on my turn. Because it'll be the same thing if I go attack it. He can summon from deck and then start playing. Fortunately for me, though, he did not have Kaiman, thank God, because I actually would have lost. He reactivates the regain, domes me for 17, and then passes it back to me. in the end phase, I do activate True Light to set here, and while it was in my deck, I should have just grabbed the search off of my mag, but I was just so excited that I didn't die, I just drew for turn. I forgot to resolve my mag. Because of this, I wasn't able to get barrel, and I'm pretty sure I drew into Kaiser. No, I drew into Strike. I could have also searched Kaiser if I didn't want the barrel. But regardless, like, I ended up winning this game. I'm just going to go right to my main phase, activate Wishes, pitching the other dead Blue Eyes in my hand. I have True Light to summon it at any time to play around another Bestial, but he doesn't even have a hand. He's got one set and that's it. So I'm just going to add Sage and Roar here. I'm like in a pretty, like, really solid position now. I go activate another Lordly Load to grab another copy of Barrel from my deck because I wasn't able to add that first one back. I normal summon it. Don't use the effect to set. I don't need to. I just want the Dropping back, and my back row is getting kind of clogged up now. I'll link the Barrel away for a Spirit, and then Spirit effect at my field spell. And there's never really a good point for him to use his Regain to summon back Druid's Worm. The plan for me was to always make a Spirit Dragon to negate any kind of Fiendsmith plays he's able to do on the follow-up. So this Druid's Worm was just going to get its effect negated anyways. And ideally, I'm trying to make a Tyrant here to reset my Strike. So I'm just going to clear his whole board regardless. I activate my field spell, extra normal to Sage that I searched earlier. Sage is going to grab Maiden for some follow-up. Should have just been a Veiler, but it's fine. I don't really have a way to get it out of my hand. I didn't think that far ahead. So it's just kind of stuck there for now. I'll go Spirit Effect. That'll summon out the Blue Eyes from my grave. And then I'll banish Wishes to equip it with the Neo. Then I link or contact fuse those for a Tyrant. And then I go Roar, summon back the banished Blue Eyes, and use those to make a Spirit. Like I said earlier, I'm just trying to play around Druid's Worm. Maybe he has another one. I don't know, but I'd rather just be safe than sorry. He has no hand, so I'm not scared of Nib. I'll attack with Tyrant. He takes no damage because it's a Hydra. I'll go Tyrant effect, set a Strike from my grave, and then attack with the Spirit for 25. Now, unfortunately, my back row is clogged. I have 2 Lordly Loads, so I can't set this other Strike that I drew for turn. If I had played this more optimally and not forgotten my mag search, I would have had a Barrel in my hand, so I wouldn't have had to activate the second Lordly Load to get access to it. But regardless, like I said, it's not going to matter. I have Strike plus Drill Beam for his one top deck. I use the Spirit effect to pop both of his back row. This Light Storm is going to die in the end phase, and I'm not going to be able to set off of it, which, you know, it's always a bummer when you don't get maximum value out of your cards, but it doesn't matter at this point in the game. I have literally 2 negates for his 1 draw, so like there's nothing he can do. I kind of think here about making a Seals with my 2 monsters. Or sorry, I went to go make a Lina with the 2 monsters before I remembered that I was Dragon Locked, and I can't actually do that. And I don't play second Seals, so I just have to pass and let the Light Storm die, getting no value out of it. He rips the Rebellion off the top, goes effect. I'm like, sure, man, die. I'm just gonna strike the Bestial. That's it though. That's the end of the game, and off to round number 4. All right, it's the last round of the tournament. I finally win a dice roll. I'm going first when I want to go first. I start off with Barrel. Barrel sets load. Load grabs Drill Beam. We're just doing like a very simple Seals pass with this kind of hand because my hand was Barrel and 4 non-engine. So I just link this away right away for a Spirit. Spirit's going to grab the field spell out of my deck. And then I don't even know if I activate the field spell here. I'm pretty sure I just use Load to grab a Blue Eyes. Yep, Load's going to grab a Blue Eyes out of my deck. And then I will just link both into Seals, set my Drill Beam, and pass. Yep, there's the Seals, set my Drill Beam. My plan, I didn't use the field spell because I have to get a Blue Eyes off of the Seal to make my Drill Beam live. And I'm like, this is fine. Until he Dusters me in the main deck. This is a game 1 Duster. I'm like, that is so annoying because I cannot even Drill Beam this. I have no vanilla access and nothing to reveal. So I have a Seals and like some hand traps. He normal summons, I think it's called a Stellar, which does not have an on-summon effect. It's a ignition effect. So I just choose to bounce it with Seals on summon and just get rid of the problem before he starts snowballing with all the White Forest cards. I'll go Seal's Effect to summon from deck, and I'll chain a Fuwa, so I'll at least get some draws as he tries to play through a board, or like potentially try and kill me. This Seals is going to summon a Mag, and then I'll get the Mag search in the end phase. Now, I'm like fresh off of the last round, I'm remembering in my head, like I'm not going to let this Mag resolve in no effect. Or like forget to add in the end phase. He'll activate Tract next. Tract is going to grab a Lure. Lure effect is going to summon itself. And then he will just link the Lure off right away for a Requiem. Oh, he's got a Talent Slip in my hand. Because he's under Fuwa, he doesn't want to commit super hard into giving me a million draws with all the Fiendsmith stuff. I'm just going to Ash this Talents. Hopefully he doesn't have like enough engine in his hand. I know a Stellar is one card, so he's got 2 more unknowns. And then he decides like he's not going to end on just Lure Pass. He's going to at least make the Requiem, and then gives me 1 draw, and he decides he's going to send it a little bit. He's going to summon the Lacrima from his deck. I'll draw again off the Fuwa, and then he uses the Lacrima effect to send, and I just choose to Ghost Ogre. I'm like, I'm just going to keep him off 2 bodies, not let him like get to a way to make Desiree, which I guess realistically I could have kept the Ghost Ogre for the Desiree effect, but I didn't want him to be able to send like True Light or something on the follow-up. So I get the Engraver engraved, and then I'm pretty sure he just sets 2 and passes. Yeah, I'll resolve my Magnemite in the end phase, not forgetting that again. This is going to add the Neo Kaiser to my hand. I don't currently have like a ton of playability in my hand. I did get a couple draws off the Fuwa, but like I said in the first turn, I like just want more engine. I do forget to add back my barrel in the standby phase here, but I don't think I was ever going to summon it regardless. I wanted the Kaiser as a priority instead, to dump the Maiden and get the Blue Eye stuff into rotation, as nice as Drill Beam is. So normal the Kaiser, I'll link it into Spirit. No Spirit effect to add, because I already have the Field Spell. The Spirit's going to, or the Kaiser's going to dump Maiden, and then he uses Lacrima to summon Requiem there. I'll go Spirit to summon out the Blue Eyes, and then that'll trigger Maiden to summon herself. Then I can go Maiden effect to place True Light from my deck. And then now I can go Wishes, pitching a Fuwa that I drew off of the previous Fuwa or something and just didn't get a chance to use. That'll add a Sage and a Roar. Now, like I was saying earlier, I like about not summoning the barrel. The Field Spell only gives you the additional normal of a level 1 light spellcaster, or level 1 spellcaster. So it was basically choosing between summoning the barrel or the Kaiser. But after like reviewing this replay and thinking about it a little more, I could have normaled the barrel, linked away for a Spirit like I did with the Kaiser, and then Spirit summon back Blue Eyes. That gets the Kaiser out of my hand, or that lets me use the Kaiser in my hand to summon itself, and then I can like link it away for another Spirit or something. Even a Lina would have been good to just get it off the field and get the Maiden into the graveyard. Then when I do all like this shenanigans with Roar and whatnot, I can summon back the Maiden eventually. So I'm not in like a super... The turn definitely could have been played better is basically what I'm trying to say. Anyways, we get to this point where I make a Tyrant. Triangle battle phase. He uses the Requiem effect. Now, like I was saying earlier about using the Kaiser to make a Lina, that is what I should have done before I activated Roar. I forgot that Roar Dragon locks me, and neither of us catch it in this game. Had I just used the Sage and the Magnemite to make a Lina and then used Roar to summon out the Blue Eyes that I used to make a Tyrant, it effectively would have been the same thing as it's going to be. So yeah, forgot that I was Dragon locked. Use those two to make a Lina. Lina gets back the Engraver, and then I just attack for game with the monsters on board. Yeah, attack over the Lacrima with Engraver, hit for 1850, 3k, and then 34. And then that's enough for game. Alright, game 2, and now my opponent is going first with Light Force. This is a scary deck to play going second into. But I am able to start at least with a Perulia in a standby phase, and that immediately gets hit with a Called By. He normals a Stellar again, pitching Duster. He opened Duster a Stellar again, which I'm thinking like, I'm at least going to get some draws here. I have a Fuwa. It's no Perulia, which I think is arguably better against this deck. But the Fuwa is going to, like, put in some work here. At least that's the idea. I'll get the free draw when he summons this, I think it's Sylvie from his deck. And then Sylvie is going to search for a Woes. Now, I have an Ash in my hand, and I want to try and hold it as long as possible. I'd ideally like to keep it to use it on the Woes on my turn, because that card just provides so much disruption. I'm just trying to avoid having to deal with that. He'll synchro those two for... I actually don't remember. I think this might be like Synchro Ryzeal or something. And he'll use the effect of that to search after I get my draw. I'm like, that seems a little too good. I'm going to imperm that. And then he chains the Sylvie to put it back and get the effect anyways, to like effectively dodge my imperm. And I'm immediately kicking myself. I totally forgot there are quick effects to put back a synchro and summon themselves. Like, I actually just walked right into that so easily. This is why it's always important to read your opponent's cards. I know it can be kind of annoying, especially if you are trying to avoid going into time in real life games, but you know, it's always good to be familiar with what your opponent's cards does, because not having this imperm actually hurts a lot later on. Because I'm not able to use it for the eventual Diabell he makes when it comes back to my turn. So him getting a free synchro out of his extra deck ends up cooking me. And then because he summoned a spellcaster, he can summon back the Stellar. Then the he has an Alzette in his hand, so he reveals that to summon it. I'm pretty sure, I'm trying to figure out what was the trap he searched is like a compulsive or something. It bounces my cards up to the amount of synchros he has, or something along those lines. Anyways, he summons the Alzette, uses that to synchro into the Book of Eclipse synchro. I think it's also called Sylvie or something, the wolf. And then he will trigger the Alzette to search for a Sinful Spoils card. I don't have a Ghost Ogre. I sided them out, I think, to be honest, because or actually maybe I didn't. But I ashed the effect of search because I just don't want him to get a like Deception in his hand and then be able to like start getting negates on the board. He synchros again into Diabell and tries to get the Call by the Grave back in rotation. I imprint this. There's a Maiden in my hand. I'm gonna get absolutely smoked by Called by if I let him have it. As much as I would like to keep imperm for my turn to negate the Diabell, I am more worried about him having this Called by. So he sets another card, which is the Woes, and passes, and I draw into Ghost Ogre. So maybe there was a world where I let him get to Deception, but I don't think I would have been able to get the Ogre in time in order to use it on the Tribute and Search effect. I'm kind of just thinking about how I want to start this turn. I know I have to play around Woes, and I have to play around Diabell summoning the Book of Eclipse guy. So I just opt to start with a Maiden. My goal is to kind of try and put a Tyrant on board as quickly as possible. That way I'm able to force out the Diabell effect or force out like the Book of Eclipse monster hitting the field. So I'll go Maiden for True Light, activate Roar here. Roar's going to summon out a Blue Eyes from my deck. Unfortunately, I can't use the Roar to banish Infuse. It's a hard one effect once per turn. But I will get to trigger my Maiden on the summon of the Blue Eyes. He uses his trap here, bouncing the Maiden and the True Light, to which I chain my True Light in order to set another card. And then he chains his Diabell, sending the Compulse trap for cost. Because it is a White Forest card, it is going to set itself again on a new chain. Which is crazy, by the way, that you're like allowed to do that. Like, that's so insane. He also chains his Sylvie, putting back the Wolf here. This will give him the Book of Eclipse monster back in his extra deck to summon, which is what I was really trying to avoid the entire time. So anyways, we'll resolve the chain. My cards get bounced. My True Light sets a Wishes from deck, and then he summons the Ryzeal, whatever this monster is. He'll go chain 1 to search, chain 2 of this trap to set itself, and then I pick up and read it. I'm like, I did not know it was like a White Forest card. That's crazy. But so I don't have anything I can do about that. I have to let it all resolve. Annoying he got this trap back in rotation, but like, what am I going to do about it? He will end up searching for Alzette as just some follow-up here. And then I'm thinking like, oh, okay, now the Esteller also gets summoned, which is like fine. I wasn't really worried about the Esteller. I was more worried about the Woes getting a tuner from his deck, or a level 2 monster to synchro summon into the wolf and book my field. I'll activate wishes here on res. This will add a copy of Sage and I think just another roar. I'm pretty sure I already have Majesty in my hand, so I'm just glad that I have roar that I'm able to, like the second one that I'm able to search, at least as some sort of follow-up. And because I'm playing the second roar, I'm able to resolve this wishes. Otherwise it would have been like a pretty different game state, because I wouldn't have been able to activate the wishes at all. I honestly don't even know if I would have set off of the True Light. I might have just ate it and been like, that's fine. But because I play the second roar, I was able to use the wishes, equip a fusion, make the Tyrant Dragon. This was the goal all along. I'm just going to go to my battle phase and try and force out that Book of Eclipse monster. In a perfect world, he doesn't use woes, but I mean, what am I going to do? Tell him no? I don't have another Ash in my hand. I didn't draw one. Most of the cards I drew off that Flua, I had to use to like make him stop his turn. So he'll use woes. I'm pretty sure this gets another level 4 out of his deck, because yeah, it gets the regular Ryzeal. Because it is a tuner, he's able to use that with the Stellar to make the synchro instead of summoning like a dead LZ and using the Sylvie. That'll book my Tyrant, which is unfortunate. I really would have liked to just get an imperm back for free, but can't have everything. I'll just end up going to my main phase 2 here in a second. Yep, main phase 2, I'm just gonna normal summon Sage. I haven't used any of my normals yet, so it's like pretty like self-explanatory that this is just the next logical play. We'll go Sage for a Veiler. I don't need Maiden, I have it in the grave. I'm not like super worried about keeping it there. I'll link the Sage into Spirit. Spirit's gonna add the field spell, and then I don't even know if I activate my field spell. I already have a Blue Eyes in rotation, so I don't actually have to if I don't want to. And then let's see, I do activate the field spell and I use that to dump another Blue Eyes, and I bring this one back with Spirit. I don't know if there was like oh it's because I wanted to get the second one into rotation for the Majesty in my hand. That's the reason I did this. Normally I like to save it, the second one, so that I have one to summon off of seals if I can get my way into Drill Beam, but obviously that wasn't possible to do here. Because I don't have Drill Beam or Barrel. I'll go say or Spirit Effect, that'll bring back Blue Eyes. I've already summoned Maiden, so I can't summon it back again for free. I'm just kind of deciding now, do I want to summon out the Veiler from my hand and like make a Spirit Dragon, stop some potential graveyard effects and get an Omni Negate, or do I want to go for Seals? Now realistically, I probably should have went for the Seals. This would allow me to get Barrel into rotation, which I desperately needed. I'm kind of in a grind game right now, and I have Majesty and the True Light set, so I'm pretty confident I'll be able to live to see another turn, but I don't have Barrel, so I'm like kind of hanging on by a thread here. So like I've been saying throughout this video, hindsight is 2020. I've realized how important Barrel is to this strategy. Making the seals, if I don't have it, is my new game plan when it's possible. Unless Spirit is like an FTK against the deck, obviously then that's a different discussion. But like in this case specifically, I should have made a seals. I'll start with LZ sending the trap that he was able to set for free. That'll grab the other LZ, the new one, and I'm not gonna get another chance really to use this Spirit Negate. So I'm just gonna stop him from getting the trap back. I don't want to keep letting him have free things to send. So I just go Spirit, negate the trap to set. And then on a new chain after that resolves, I go Spirit Effect. This is like kind of playing around Kaiba, but I know he doesn't have it because it's in his graveyard, which is fine. I just make the Omni Negate. And now at this point, what you're about to see is like a crazy, this game should not have kept going. I should have won probably. I'm not gonna say win because I don't know how this deck plays like once your stuff is kind of popped. But on the summon of this LZ, I just use my Majesty. I pop both of his non-tuners. He's got a Sylvie and 2 level 6 synchros. Sure, he can make a Chaos Angel, but I don't really care too much about that. Will it be annoying? Yes, but I'll live. Like, he can't clear both my Omni Negate and the Tyrant. He can only clear one. Well, I guess if he banishes my Omni Negate with the Chaos Angel and attacks the Tyrant, I'm going to set the Majesty back and, like, be able to play on the next turn, and I know I won't die. He uses Subversion to force out my Omni Negate. Then he uses Magma here. This is where the game spirals out of control. I forgot that Spirit has an effect that says your opponent just can't banish from your graveyard, which I guess technically he could have banished something from his own graveyard, but obviously I would prefer that than like losing a Blue Eyes. Then he makes the Chaos Angel, that outs my Spirit, just like I was talking about earlier, but now he's getting this extra search in the end phase. I don't remember exactly what lights and darks he had in his graveyard, but he loops a lot of his resources over and over, which, like, one less of those might have been a game changer. I actually don't know. I don't know White Forest well enough to say one way or the other. He just goes to the battle phase with those monsters, attacks my Tyrant. I take double piercing, so I take 200, and then I use the Tyrant effect to set a Majesty. If you're unaware, the way Tyrant works is it triggers at the end of damage step or damage calc, whatever the wording is. So even if it's destroyed by battle, it will still trigger. It'll just trigger in the graveyard instead of on the field. It's kind of the same way that per the Happiness works, where sometimes you would be able to crash it. Like, it would search, my friend would add back, field spell would trigger, so you just get a ton of pluses off of that. He'll hit me for some more damage. I let it all go through. There's a case to using True Light to summon here and like chump block some of it. But I really wanted to get the Maiden back in rotation, and if I had summoned Maiden on any of the attacks before all the synchros were done hitting, I would have took double piercing and would have been dead. He shuffles one back, I think the Diabell, to summon out Sylvie, and now because I'm safe from double piercing, I use True Light to summon Blue Eyes, and then trigger my Maiden to summon herself. He can attack it, and I'll just get another level 1 tuner off of Maiden's effect, so I don't really care too much about this. He's just confirming it has to be a Blue Eyes, and it's not just any Blue Eyes monster. He's trying to keep me off of the Tyrant. And he's just not going to attack the Maiden. There's not really a reason to. It's fine. He links 2 monsters into Moon, then into Requiem. Requiem is going to summon out Lacrima, and this is going to force my effect failure here. I don't want him to get Engraver into rotation, because the Send is annoying. Making the Desiree is annoying. Making a Caesar is annoying. I just don't want to deal with it. I guess there's a case to me like letting him get to Engraver so that I can negate the sequence with the Veiler. But I figured I'd just stop it before it gets too out of control. He shuffles back to summon out Ryzeal, makes a sequence, and then realizes I stopped him from getting the Engraver. So the sequence actually can't fuse into anything. It doesn't really matter a ton at the end of the day, because he ends up linking all 4 of his monsters into a bow. He could have just like straight up linked 4 monsters, or made the link 2 and the other 2 monsters. It's all the same. I guess the sequence is out of his extra deck now, but he's able to summon it back with Lacrima on my end phase if I'm not able to kill him. So it probably realistically might even work out better for him. I'm not sure. Yeah, so he links all 4 monsters into a bow. There's a bow. In the end phase, when his mag resolves, he's going to get a Druid's Worm, which is a card to discard off of a bow. Then he can non-target pop my True Light, and then it's just going to be a huge headache. I could technically go first action, make Spirit Dragon, and then negate my True Light. But I don't think I have a way to make a Spirit with Eyes of Blue on my turn. So I just want to avoid like having to deal with this at all. Actually, I had the second Roar in my hand. Maybe it might have been the better play to not use the Majesty here like I did. So I do this in my standby phase because I don't want him to be able to pop one of my cards using the Druid's Worm. So the Abow dies, and then all he's got is a Druid's Worm in his hand and some White Forest monsters he can summon from his grave. Now I'm trying to think like what's the optimal play here. And I'm pretty sure I just go for Spirit anyways. So I really just should not have used the Majesty to pop. It was kind of, I don't want to say counterproductive, but it would have been preferred for me to save it to like clear his board before he starts his turn, because I know there's no way I'm killing him. I'm just thinking if it's like effective for me to synchro or to link off first, because I have the True Light summon. So before I get Dragon Locked, I'm gonna normal Perulia, link Perulia and Blue Eyes into Lina. And this whole play in my head, I was like, oh, this is great. I'm gonna force his Jurisworm with the True Light, let him banish my Blue Eyes, it's fine because I have Roar. And then I'll go Lina, take the Chaos Angel, banish his Jurisworm, and be in a good spot. And then he's like, the Chaos Angel is dark, he can't do that. And I'm like, oh my god, I totally forgot. I get so mixed up with them being able to use lights or darks as a tuner that I forgot it's actually just a dark monster. So like, whatever. I'll Lina take the sequence, I guess, because it's a guy, just to have. And he uses his Lacrima to prevent me from taking it. Which, honestly, I feel like I'm okay with that trade. I really wanted the free monster to be able to make SP with the Lina, and just like banish some of his resources, but I didn't get that opportunity. Yes, I can link with Lina and Maiden to make SP, but that doesn't really seem like super fantastic either. Like, I'd honestly rather just crash the Lina and get a Veiler for his turn. So I go Roar here as my next play. That brings up Blue Eyes, and then I'm able to, I think, synchro into Spirit Dragon. I'm just kind of like in a frustrated position at this point because I like cannot out this Jurisworm very effectively. I had to use Roar first because both my Blue Eyes were banished because I let it get banished for the Jurisworm. So I just have to go battle, attack into the sequence with the Spirit, and then I crash my Lina. I don't have a way to summon back the Maiden, and I don't have a light spellcaster in my hand. So I crash this Lina, take a like 750 or whatever the damage is, and I'm getting pretty low. But this is like necessary for me to do because it can search for Sage. Sage can search for another Veiler for his turn, and then I can link the Sage into Spirit, which will let me use the Spirit effect, get a Blue Eyes back, get the Maiden back, and then I can make another Spirit, I can make a Seals. Like, I have some like good options now. I'm just Dragon Locked to my extra deck, so the only thing I can do is like make an SP, which is fine because it's not really super phenomenal in this position anyways. And I'm looking at my extra deck and I'm like, there's nothing I even want to make here. I'm just gonna pass on these guys and they'll just be bodies. He triggers Sylvie here. I opt to not chain block it because I'm like, oh, I'll just Spirit negate the LZ to come back. But he goes chain 1 LZ, chain 2 Sylvie. Even though the Sylvie is negated, he can still use it to chain block, which means my Spirit just does not get any value at all, which is kind of annoying, but I mean, what am I going to do about that? He'll draw for turn. He drew, I forget what he draws, but he, let's see. I think he leads with LZ? Yeah, he just normals the LZ. He doesn't have a spell or trap to send for it. He'll synchro those two, and then make the Book of Eclipse monster. Yep. He'll book my whole field. And I'm like, I'm just going to Veiler that. I'm not really interested in taking 6,000 double piercing from this monster hitting over my Maiden. And then he's kind of thinking if he wants to chain one of his, like his Sylvia or his Ryzeal to put the synchro back to dodge the Veiler, which I would have been okay with. I was more so worried about just dying to the double piercing. And he ends up just leaving it in his extra deck, which is also fine. Or leaving it on his field, he doesn't put back, which is also fine. In the end phase, I'm going to True Light to set wishes. I don't have a Blue Eyes to summon because my other one is banished. And then I rip a Barrel off the top. I needed this card in rotation so badly. Barrel gets load, Load gets Drill Beam, and now I'm in a fantastic spot. I can go activate Drill Beam. Ideally, I would have liked to target the Synchro, but I need to clear this Jurisworm. If I target the Synchro, he can chain the little guys to like put it back and then effectively dodge the Drill Beam. I go Drill Beam effect to reset itself because I still have the Barrel on my field, and I just put my guys in attack mode. I end up making a Lightstorm Dragon here. Because I want to put the Blue Eyes in grave. I use the Lightstorm to pop the wishes that I set off of the True Light. I just want to clear out my back row. I can't activate it. I don't have any like enough targets left in my deck. I hit over the Synchro with the Light Storm, hit him for 19 with the barrel. I go to attack with Spirit, and he chains to put back. This is when I try and go Spirit, negate again, but he chain blocks it. And I'm like, that's just so crazy that you can chain block like that. He gets his LZ back, which is kind of annoying, but I mean, it's fine. Still in the battle phase, I'll summon back Blue Eyes, summon back Maiden, hit him for another 3k. And then in main phase 2, I link the Light Storm and the barrel away for a Seals. It's like the last form of interaction I have. My extra deck is getting pretty tight at this point. I want to leave the Blue Eyes so that my Drill Beam negate is live. And he knows that this Drill Beam is live, so he doesn't activate the Wanted here. He just uses it to send for LZ. Yeah, it'll be LZ, send Wanted. I don't have a hand. Or actually, yeah, no, I don't have a hand. So I have to let that resolve. This LZ is going to search for Sylvie, which is annoying, but I'm like, this is fine. I'll just go negate the Sylvie search with my Drill Beam, which honestly I shouldn't have done. He goes, I think, one of the little guys to put back a Synchro. To summon, I negate it, then he goes Wanted to draw a card. I should have let him summon the guy. Like, I have Seals plus Drill Beam, and I should have negated the Wanted draw with my Spirit. I waste my Drill Beam here. Once again, should have saved it for something more impactful. This deck is like very, like, you have to use your interactions so well because it's so low to the ground, and the ceiling is not high enough to justify like simple mistakes like this. I target his Sylvie, and his top deck off of the Wanted was like Susurrus or something it's called, which is a quick play spell that says bounce a White Forest or like one of the types, the Spellcaster, Illusion, whatever, and then summon one of those types from your graveyard. Really unfortunate that's what he drew. He chains it, his Sylvie dodges my Drill Beam, adds a Woes, and he gets an LZ back from his grave. This is like such a tough spot for me to be in, and at this point I realize like this game is pretty much over. He has so much gas now in his hand. I have my only interaction left is Seals. I'm like, I have to save this literally until he goes for a kill shot. He fuses with the LZ into Moo. That effect as Deception. I have to just let it ride. Like, the Seals isn't going to stop any of this. Activates Deception. And then he uses the other LZ in his hand to special itself. Then the Ryzeal specials itself. Then he can synchro into the Book of Eclipse monster. And then he gets the LZ on the chain as well to search. I have to let it resolve. I don't have any negates. And True Light isn't going to be able to set or summon anything. He adds Subversion. Subversion to send the Seals, which forces it. I use Seals effect, and then I die to the Deception burn. Unfortunately, time is also called, like, literally as this is happening. So it is 1-1. It ends in a draw in the finals. All in all, it's like it's a very interesting matchup once the Blue Eyes stuff starts getting rotation. You have so much interruption and hand traps, and White Force is a deck that can push through a lot. So this matchup feels kind of like very interesting to say the least when you don't have access to like Drool and Lockbird to just stop their turn. Anyways, that's it for this locals gameplay with Blue Eyes. I hope you all enjoyed it and hopefully learned a thing or two about like at least what not to do or like simple mistakes you can avoid. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.